First, I'd like to discuss about the scams from this year. Did you guys enjoy it as much as I did? The Grammys are just the Grammys, you know. While I'm not excited about the Grammys, we must discuss them because it's the biggest night in music. There were many happy moments when Tyla won her first Grammy, Coco Jones and Victoria Monet. It was wonderful to see Coco Jones debut Best Performance for her song IQ, and it was very well deserved because IQ is a classic song in my view, and Coco is very deserving of this award. I was really happy to see many of the newer Black female artists get recognized this year. I'm happy by the news that she got a Grammy since she has worked so hard and made a quality musical project. She deserves all that she has worked so hard for. I'm also pleased for Tyla, the artist. She achieved a great deal by winning her first Grammy for Best African Music Performance with her song Water. Despite she has only been in the music industry for a few years, Tyla's song Water has undoubtedly made a bigger impact abroad than the other songs she was up against. Some people feel that she shouldn't have defeated artists like Burna Boy, Davido, seeCOK, and A-Ra Star because they are technically more well-known in the Afrobeat genre of music. However, I think Tyla's song has achieved more success internationally than the other songs she was up against. So, while I do believe she deserves the prize, to be precise, I think they all should. But you have to choose one. Anyway, enough about me, let's talk about Victoria Monet. For years, the Grammy Awards this year seemed like Victoria's Cinderella story. In the music business, Victoria has received very little attention and is essentially considered a supporting act. She writes songs for other musicians but is never the featured artist on a big song. She has now established herself, and she achieved a remarkable achievement when her album Jaguar 2 won the Grammy for Best Album and the Grammy for Best New Artist. Although technically she's not new, this is the first time her work has been submitted to the Grammys. And Jaguar 2 is officially her first official album. Her previous musical endeavors were just mixtapes. Taking all of that into consideration, the committee decided that she was a new artist, despite the fact that she is very deserving of these awards and should have performed at the Grammys. I'm not sure why she wasn't able to take the stage, but as one of the most nominated artists of the evening, she most definitely should have had the opportunity to walk the red carpet. Alright, let's talk about SZA, who won multiple Grammys tonight despite losing out on Album of the Year. I have to give it up to SZA though, as she also won multiple awards. She took home the Best Progressive R&B Album for her album SZA, the Best Rob Song for her song Snooze, and the Best Pop Duo Performance with Phoebe Bridgers for her song Ghost in the Machine. Well, I'm incredibly happy for her. Let me be honest. Taylor Swift shouldn't have won Album of the Year for Midnight. While Taylor sold a lot of records, she didn't have the same impact as SZA, who had multiple songs from SZA's debut charting in the top 10 throughout 2023, including Kill Bill and Good Days. She had a longer run at #1 than Taylor did, so I believe she should have won Album of the Year. But of course, they weren't going to give it to a Black woman. It's very difficult for Black artists, especially Black female artists, to win in major categories like Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. They were all in the top 10, and several of her songs were #1 on radio for weeks. Her album was #1 on Billboard for 21 weeks. As for the Grammys performances, I wasn't particularly impressed. I felt like there was a problem with the sound, so I wasn't really here for the audio. I should have known they weren't going to award it to SZA, but she absolutely deserved Album of the Year now. If you've ever seen Fantasia live, you already know that she's going to deliver every single time. I'll give SZA an honorable mention even though I wasn't crazy about her Snooze and Kill Bill performance. Fantasia steals the show, and say ole Burna Boy. Brandy's performances do have to give Fantasia her 10s across the board. Nevertheless, I enjoyed her rendition of Saturn, which I believe to be a new song. I also felt Burna Boy did okay, and I liked that he brought out Brandy. However, it's obvious that Fantasia stole the show. She stole Nicki Minaj's Grammys troll. Because scammers constantly seem to be getting into trouble. Let's start by discussing how Drake shaded the Grammy Awards show. First, let's speak about how they were attempting to ridicule Nicki Minaj. When Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice first tweeted that their song Barbie World had won Best Rap Song at the Grammys, they quickly deleted the tweet. Why did they do that? I believe they were being clumsy and were trying to poke fun at Nicki Minaj. It almost seems like they considered giving it to her. Nonetheless, they swiftly withdrew it, indicating that they intended to give it to Ice Spice rather than Nicki. Because, let's face it, the Grammys really screwed Nicki. When Nicki performed a song that producer Kenneth Eric didn't want her to, she was first blackballed. Later, after Kenneth resigned from the Grammys, the committee continued to ignore Nicki and refused to vote for her songs. It's evident that she is not well liked in the industry and that she is up against corporate giants and certain entities that don't really want to see her win. Drake also expressed his disapproval of the Grammy Awards, having previously mentioned them after he and 21 Savage were passed over for their project. He basically said those words again when he actually won a Grammy, saying things like, this award doesn't really matter like that. All you incredible artists remember, this show isn't the facts. It's just the opinion of a group of people whose names are kept secret, and you could Google it. Congratulations to everyone who wins in the hip-hop category. However, this show doesn't control anything in our world, and although Drake is stating the obvious, these artists still value the Grammys greatly because they are significant to the music industry. While it may not mean much to us, these artists value it greatly, which is why there is constant discussion about who should win, who deserves to win, and so on. Now that Killer Mike has won, this conversation continues. K. Mike wins Best Rap Song, Best Rap Album, and Best Rap Performance. He also gets arrested pretty big. Some people were surprised that he won all 3 categories, but I've heard that his album is good, so I'm not upset that he won. I did notice that he was really excited. He almost did a praise dance as he left the stage. Alright, let's talk about SZA, who won multiple Grammys tonight despite losing out on Album of the Year. I have to give it up to SZA though, as she also won multiple awards. She took home the Best Progressive R&B Album for her album SOS, the Best Reb Song for her song Snooze, and the Best Pop Duo Performance with Phoebe Bridgers for her song Ghost in the Machine. While I'm incredibly happy for her, let me be honest. Taylor Swift shouldn't have won Album of the Year for Midnight. While Taylor sold a lot of records, she didn't have the same impact as SZA, who had multiple songs from SOSW charting in the top 10 throughout 2023, including Kill Bill and Good Days. She had a longer run at #1 than Taylor did, so I believe she should have won Album of the Year. But of course, they weren't going to give it to a black woman. It's very difficult for black artists, especially black female artists, to win in major categories like Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. They were all in the top 10, and several of her songs were #1 on radio for weeks. Her album was #1 on Billboard for 21 weeks.